Hey everybody, Desert Guardian here, and today I have something really fun to talk about from Chiappa Firearms. So without further ado, let's take a look and see what's in the box. All right, a holster, some paperwork, and the Chaippa Rhino 200DS, which is the 2-inch barrel Chaippa Rhino in 357 Magnum. Now this is definitely one of the most unique pistols I've ever seen, but is definitely a revolutionary design, and we'll go through all of that. So let's pull it out. So we've got some moon clips, the round removal tool, locks. We got some snap caps. We're going to pull those out. It comes with paperwork and a holster, and of course, the Rhino itself. So we'll set this aside and put the box over here and the goodies. And let's take a closer look at the Chiappa Rhino. Now, obviously, the first impression of this is, wow, this is unlike anything I've ever seen before. And second impression sometimes is, it kind of looks like a rhino, and it's kind of a face that only a mother could love. But there are some things about this revolver that are absolutely revolutionary. And that's what I want to get into with you today. So here, let's take a quick look. So it's a standard 6-shot 357 Magnum. And there's stuff on here that you can recognize as, you know, typical revolver stuff. It's got a cylinder. It's got what looks like a hammer. You know, trigger, grip. Hey, it kind of looks like a revolver. I mean, this might be more what you're used to seeing in a revolver, but we're going to compare the two of these, and I think you're going to be surprised at what you see. So, the Rhino comes from Italy, comes from Chiappa Firearms, and you may know Chiappa for a lot of really unique firearms they make. They make replicas for the cowboy action shooting. They make some beautiful peacemakers. They make a bunch of different hunting shotguns and rifles. They have a lot of build and unique, manufacturing experience. And this one, the Rhino, I think is going to be the kind of the real first step into breaking into more mainstream firearms for Chiappa. And man, they really knocked it out of the park with this one. It is truly a unique piece. So let's take a look. So what we've got, we've got what appears to be a hammer back here, but it's not a hammer. It's actually a cocking lever. So when if you look through here, right on the hammer, that's your rear sight. So that's kind of strange. So you got a nice little fiber optic front sight, but hey, if that's on the hammer, then it's going to sit back. Well, it doesn't. That's just a cocking lever. So it's not actually a hammer. So let's do this. I'm going to push this lever down here. This opens the cylinder, which you can see is a hexagon, which is kind of unique. I like that. I like the flat sides on it. I'm going to load this up with some snap caps. This is on loan to me from my buddy over at the Sheepdog Defense Project. So I'm going to treat it like I'd treat one of my own, obviously. I kind of wanted to take it apart and see what the internals look like, but he said no. So, all right, so we've got the snap caps loaded up, and you can see that the cylinder opens up, very similar to, your classic revolver. Cylinder opens up, you load it up, you close it. And that's where the similarities kind of stop on it. There's your lever for opening and closing. Obviously, your ejection rod right here on the front, just like a typical revolver. So this is going to be sort of a single double action pistol that almost acts like a striker fire. Now, there are a bunch of diagrams and pictures with this panel taken off, and inside this revolver are all of the same pieces that you'd find in my Smith & Wessons. They're just set up in kind of a different order. Different order, you say? Well, heck, why is that? Well, a couple reasons. One, because it doesn't have a classic hammer. It has a cocking lever. And two, because where the bullet comes out, is not where my finger is. It's down here. It actually shoots from the bottom of the cylinder. And that is where the whole revolutionary revolver design really comes in. So, you know, you've got your cocking lever, which, as you can see, you can decock. It actually puts the trigger back, you know, almost to where there's very little take up. It's a super brake. And then, of course, you've got double action mode here. So, cocking, single action, and then double action. Now, when you pull that trigger, the firing pin is actually hitting down here because it's setting off this round and it is firing your 357 or 38 special round right out the bottom of that cylinder. And you know, if anybody's ever fired a 357, the first time you fire a nice load 357, you kind of say, wow, and you kind of shake your hand a little bit because it is a powerful load. And what Chiappa did with this design is they took the muzzle flip and they took the felt recoil and reduced it significantly by taking the traditional barrel up top and moving it to the bottom. So let's see if I can give you a little bit of a visual on that. So we'll take my Smith & Wesson here, and when you hold this, you know, when you pull that trigger, that's firing the bullet right here. And look at the distance between my wrist and, you know, my arm here and that barrel. I mean, you're talking, you know, a good couple inches above your wrist. So that recoil is pushing back right here, and it actually has a little bit of a twist with a 44 Magnum, but it's pushing back here. So there's a lot of strain on your wrist as opposed to pushing straight back, which would be less strain. So that's where the Rhino comes in. When you're holding the Rhino, I mean, look where my finger's pointing. Straight out the barrel of the gun. So when you're holding this, that recoil is coming straight into you. You know, it will have a little bit of flip, but it's not. I mean, you got to think of it like a lever. You know, if you put a big enough lever in your hand, you know, we'll take this pen. You know, when you pull like that, obviously you can get a lot more torque than if you're pushing like that. It's just a longer lever. So the muzzle flip is really minimal on this because it's pushing straight back from here to right into your locked wrist. So you're not getting the lever action from a muzzle flip. And then the recoil is significantly, the felt recoil is significantly reduced because it's popping you right here, right in the sweet spot, the ball area of your, the pocket of your palm. So, and that's one thing that I looked at when I first saw this. I said, geez, that thing is so strange looking. What are you going to do with this tiny little grip on it? You know, I'm used to something like this. I want something that I can wrap my hand around because, you know, you're pushing a large round through this and you're going to have a ton of recoil, a lot of powder. I mean, shoot, that's a big hole. So I'm used to having a big, firm grip. So when my buddy first picked this up, I said, you know what I hate about it? I hate the grip. I feel like I'm not going to be able to hold on to it. It's going to pop out of my hand. What is that thing? Is that a popsicle stick? And of course, then I wrap my hand around it and I actually put some rounds through it. And your hand, you know, I've got average size hands. They're not huge, but they're not tiny. And you can see my pinky can get on the grip just fine. But, you know, when I first grabbed it, I'm like, wow, I feel like it's going to slip just because I didn't have the huge one that you would see on like the Smith & Wesson. But as soon as I pulled the trigger the first time, it was instantly apparent that that is recoiling like this, not like that, not popping up. It's coming straight back at you. So we ran some 38 Special and we ran some 357 Magnum through it. And it was interesting. If you go every other cylinder, I'm sure everybody who's got a 357 has done this. You know, it goes bang, boom, bang, boom, bang, boom. And sure, there was a felt recoil difference between the 38 Special and the 357, but it wasn't a surprising, you know, chop to the hand and strain to the wrist every time it went off. So that right there is just the somebody thinking outside the box when it comes to a classic design. I mean, revolvers have been around forever, but nobody's really said, hey, you know what, I'm going to produce this. I'm going to put it on the mainstream. I'm going to put it in every gun shop in America, in the world. I'm going to put it in 4 sizes, a 2-inch, a 4-inch, a 5-inch, and a 6-inch. And people are going to buy it and they're going to love it. And you know what? It's happening. People are buying this. People are loving this. It makes shooting a hot load 357 Magnum round fun. When I take out my 357 or when I take out my 44, I'm usually taking it out in conjunction with, my 9mm or my 45s or something. And I'm putting most of the rounds through that. I just like to keep myself fresh with this. It's not that I go and I put 300 rounds through it in a day just for recreation. I mean, sometimes I put more rounds than others, but it is a hard pop and a strain to your wrist when you're firing a gun like this, either a 357 Magnum or a 44 Magnum. I love it. I'll never get rid of it. I love my 44 Magnums, but it's just a fact. This one shoots lighter. So yeah, I mean, it is sort of an amazing concept. So, let's pop this open. This is full of snap caps, no live rounds. Pop this open. We are empty, so that way I can point them at the camera. All right, so if we put the two, as I bump the camera, we put the 2 cylinders side by side, now you can really see the difference of where that barrel is and where that round is coming out. So let's just line up the front sights here. So we've got the top, well here, let's see if I can line up this, the top of the revolver itself. So we've got the top of it lined up, and here is the Rhino barrel coming out the bottom, and here is the Smith & Wesson barrel coming out the top. I mean, if you're going center to center, I would venture to say that's an inch or a little bit more than an inch of distance between where the round is actually coming out. So that's the big difference of where it's going to hit you in the wrist. It's just physics. It's science, because science, and for those of you that don't want to get into the physics or the science of it, take it out and shoot it and just feel it. I've got a 529 357 Magnum 4-inch barrel just like this one, but blued, and then I've got a couple other 44 mags. I love shooting them, but man, I tell you, go grab one and go grab a Rhino and pull the trigger a few times. You are going to notice a difference. So it's definitely unique and different. So yeah, so that's it. That's the Rhino. So we'll take another look at it. So you've got your cylinder release right here, real easy to get to. Just it rests perfectly with your thumb. So you pop that open, this pops open, you shut it. Of course, once again, we're full of snap caps, no live rounds here. And then cocking lever. So here's your little indicator here that shows you when it's cocked, because obviously it's not as easy to tell as this. Yep, that's definitely cocked. So, but this doesn't swing back up like the Rhino does. So they put a cocked indicator on it, which is great. I mean, you have all these people saying, I don't want a loaded chamber indicator, I don't need any, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? On this one you do, because it pops right back up. That's your rear sight. So you got to have that indicator on there. It's very easy. It's very easy to do a one-handed hammer release on it, because this just has basically a tiny little spring at this point because it's cocked. So if you just hold that down, lay your finger on the trigger, it pops up very easily. And if you notice that cocked indicator, it actually doesn't rely on this popping back up. It's giving you feedback from the trigger itself. See that? It moves with the trigger when you let it back up. So when you gently let that back up, and then the trigger swings back into place, that drops back down. That's a way more comfortable way of releasing the hammer. On the Smith & Wesson, that's actually kind of terrifying, because what if it slips out of your hand? And of course they put the knurled thing on here, and I've never had that happen to me before, but this right here has every ounce of the spring that it takes to fire off a round. Whereas the Rhino, once this is cocked, oops, sorry, bashed the camera. This is just a little detent spring, and then once you release it, the spring is more in the trigger. So it's very comfortable, very easy to let that back off. Yeah, and there's one other thing I want to add about Chiappa. They are an Italian company, but they're out of Dayton, Ohio. They have a huge distribution in America. Lots of people carry this, and I do have to say one little kudo to them. Their customer service is amazing. When my buddy first got this, it had one tiny little flaw. It wasn't a huge deal, but he's a guy like me who likes everything to be perfect. So what does he do? He calls them up. They said, yeah, no problem. We'll handle that for you. And I mean, it was like lightning fast, handled, perfect, done. I love companies like that. That's why I like Smith & Wesson. That's why I like Springfield. You know, I like these companies that just try their hardest to take care of you. And Chiappa is no different. You know, some people think, well, they're out of Italy. Well, oh, look right there, Dayton, Ohio. So they have a lot of support here in the States. They want to take care of you. They want you to fire their guns. And this one here, being a 2-inch size, is actually pretty compact. I mean, it's no difference in size than, say, an Airlight 38 Special from Smith & Wesson. You know, it's about the same size. So this is compact enough that if you can pull it off with some pants that'll work for it, you can put it on your ankle. You can conceal carry this. It's you know, it's pretty thin. And that's one neat thing about the way they cut off the cylinders here and make it a hexagon shape is when you're in carry mode, when it's at rest, you've actually taken a little bit of material off the side. And I'll show you. So, big and round, small and flat. Now, and granted, this is a 44 and this is a 357, but even the 357 Magnum is a larger cylinder in a rounded cylinder than the Rhino is. So, and they run the same cylinder in the 2-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch. So, I mean, you can run a 6-inch here, and it's still going to be slimmer on the sides. And also, the 6-inch has the same grip. You know, this is a nice, comfortable rubberized grip that you know aids in taking out some of the recoil and make it more comfortable. And you can get a 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch Rhino with the same size grip. So let's compare that to some of the other brands out there, the Rugers, the Smith & Wessons. You know, I can get a little 2-inch snub nose with a grip that's about that big on it, but once you get into the bigger, 4 and 6-inch barrels, they're going to put a bigger grip on it. Why? Because it's going to have, it's got some more recoil to it. It's not designed to be a carry revolver. It's designed to, be more of a outside the waistband or a shoulder holster carry. Whereas all sizes of the Rhino, the 2-inch, the 4-inch, the 5-inch, and the 6-inch are all designed the same way. They're all designed to be a carry pistol if you choose to carry it. Obviously, the 2-inch is going to be the more compatible to carry. So. But that's it, man. I just really wanted to show this off today. I'm excited about it. It's new, it's unique, it's definitely taking the industry by storm. So and now I'm curious to see what happens in the revolver world. People are out there innovating. They're taking old technology and applying a new look to it. So, good job, Chiappa, with actually putting this thing to market and getting people excited about the world of revolvers and the changes that can be made. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave a comment below. And hey, click that subscribe button while you're down there too. I'm going to have regular videos coming out all the time. Hopefully we'll get some good range video of the Chaippa Rhino. It's fun to shoot, and I'm looking forward to getting back out there and putting some more rounds through it. But hey, that's it for now. Desert Guardian, out.